So what is the threatening of myself deceased? Well, I have said that I am deceased, disclosed by myself to many people since October 22nd, year 2022. And now the month is August of year 2025. I don't actually know what to say to you about you because I said that I'm deceased. That means I am deceased. There isn't anything I need except for whatever I say I need, like food, water, I need to bathe, I need to sleep, I need to be myself. But I don't actually need anything out of you that you don't really need yourself. And then if you want something illegal, that's you needing to be in jail and prison, and that would be you. That would not be me. So that's what's wrong with what you are. You are threatening me that I have obligations, compulsory, something involuntary, something that's not up to me, and you keep trying to control the movements of this Godhead. And I am deceased. I don't owe you that. I say something else to convince you that I'm not going to need you to do anything against myself to myself. Well, I have been moved around since I said I am deceased, to the landlord in here and to the police and to people who have crossed paths with myself. I say it that I'm deceased, and it's really whatever I say and do is what matters, but I don't have the potency to make that clear and come true for you. It's true that there's something wrong with you. You're doing jails and prisons on the points that you don't believe in me. You could even tell a police officer, I don't believe in somebody. I need to be in a jail and a prison. And they might ask you, what exactly does that mean? And you would have to say, well, I guess I'll have to find another way to get into jail and prison if you won't take me for that reason. And that's because you need to be interested in yourself being in a jail and a prison for your own unclean death. You're illegally alive. You need an unclean death in a jail and a prison because you are illegally alive. You have to go in whichever way you can get in. And if you can't get in immediately, you need to be homeless, and the police need to find you homeless, goes into jail and prison. You may have to be a police officer yourself to get yourself in the door locking of the jail and prison. Well, then you need to figure out how you're going to be a police officer. Good. Where do the uniforms come from? How does a police officer get a uniform that fits? I would like to make the point that I am on my way to prison myself, but it will be at the deceasement of the door locking and the deceasement of the formed world because I own my house. Well, my house is not out of the world yet. I can't be in a prison while my house is alive. Another way I can't be in a prison with you trying to put me in prison because you are illegal alive. You don't die alone. I am going to die alone. And you don't die alone, even though sometimes you're alone in the wrong. You might be alone in the wrong in your leverage of being alive at all, and then you will die with other people who are illegally alive. That's why when you go into a prison, there are other people there. You can die with them. You can die because of them. You can die from them. Some of them, all of them, any of them. You can get new people, and you can die because of new people. You don't actually know when you're going to die or how. You can't plan how you're going to die the way you plan to say to me, I'll have what you're having, give me your keys and get out. And I am waiting. By the way, where are you going? You can do that kind of crime on me with your one mouth, and you don't have a life that way, and you won't die that way either. You need to die in a mass grave in a prison. You need to die inside of a prison in a mass grave. And you don't even say that to me. You don't say that. Did you know that about yourself? How could you possibly know how to do something against myself to me in my life when you don't know how to be yourself and die in a prison in a mass grave? What, you know how to go to a football game with a ticket? You know how to go to a T-Mobile Arena? You know how to go to Staples Center in California with a ticket? You know how to get money out of the bank to buy a ticket to go someplace? Or you know how to alive yourself with a ticket and you use it on who? Because tickets don't have your names on them. Do they now? Well, when I used to use tickets, they didn't have names on them. Milwaukee Bucks games, that's where I used to go for the stadium seating inside the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And before that, it was Mecca Arena. Yeah, they built the Bradley Center, I think it was about 1990, somewhere around there. And before that, in the 80s, I went to Mecca Arena a few times, not as many times as the Bradley Center. I went there more to see the Milwaukee Bucks play. I was hearing that there was a Milwaukee Bucks player named Sidney Moncrief who had an apartment in the same apartment building complex as somebody named Grandma Rose to myself. And I had been there several times to see Grandma Rose get in the car and go out to lunch with myself on the weekend. And it was not true that I saw Sidney Moncrief, the Milwaukee Bucks basketball player, in there. But if he was ever in there, was he playing for her to live there? Because she wouldn't give me the keys. Well, he's black. That's true. He's black. He doesn't really owe that he lives in there. But he was in there in the threatening. That means he was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks and not knowing what kind of money was moving or what he was doing to the community's keys. In Milwaukee County, it's larger than a community, but to the keys in Milwaukee, and plus it's traveling. Obviously, he travels. So I don't really know what happened. All I know is that when I went back to Wisconsin when I was completely homeless in the year 2006, there was no way for me to go into that building, even though it's still there. And Grandma Rose was not in there anymore that I know of. And I can't use that Sidney Moncrief was a player for the Milwaukee Bucks who was landlording the keys of that apartment building, Foxcroft Apartments buildings, Port Washington Road and Brown Deer area of Milwaukee County, and I can't get in there for my own need to save my life. And what was Sidney Moncrief going to die if he didn't play for the Milwaukee Bucks? Because I'm not a basketball player myself, except for a little fun at the JCC or wherever I see a free basketball hoop. I don't have a jersey uniform. I never played for a team, but I did love to have fun with the basketball hoop or just watching the Milwaukee Bucks live. I like that too. But it's not easy to play for the Milwaukee Bucks, to have a uniform and play for the team on their schedule and be on TV. And he was known to be on TV and being there at the Foxcroft Apartments buildings. I just don't afford that he did that for what? Was he going to die? He's due to die. Was he homeless? He's homeless, but I could see him live at the Mecca Arena Bradley Center problem of the Milwaukee Bucks team playing there. I have to say I don't remember what year. Was it? I'm going to think it's Mecca Arena, but I don't want to promise that. It could have been the Bradley Center. So I don't actually have what it takes to go to the live Milwaukee Bucks games, and they don't give me keys so I can live someplace, so I don't have to keep going to the games because my parents locked me out of my house. I need, either new parents or I need something to feed that my parents are getting their keys there are people who owe my parents keys who don't pay them out to my parents, and they're not myself. The parents are not myself. The people who don't pay out the keys from themselves to the parents are not myself. I can't afford that. You are not myself. And I go to the Milwaukee Bucks games, and I'd sit inside of a very large seating area with full crowds, and I can't figure out how to pay for that. I enjoyed myself there. I just don't have that happy here. It's too late. But I just wanted to mention that Grandma Rose's keys are like on TV that way and indirectly. And she also, from my point of view, locked up the apartment empty and went, according to her, leaving for Albuquerque, New Mexico in the year 2000. But I don't know why she left, because that was clearly against myself. Some 6 years later, in 2006, I didn't have a place to live in Milwaukee. And if she had any extra keys, she didn't give them to me that way because I was alone at the time. She wasn't alone in Milwaukee that I know of. I didn't go to her apartment building. I didn't call her either. But I couldn't get anyone to direct me that she was somewhere where I could find her. I did hear somebody say that she died. That won't help. She's missing. Okay, she's missing. Because how do you know if she died in Albuquerque, New Mexico? Somebody knows where she was in Albuquerque. Well, how do you know she died? Did you just know she died? How are we going to ever solve that somebody knows somebody died, but you didn't also die before you tell somebody that you think somebody died? You know how hard you put me in a mental hospital because you don't agree with me talking to you about myself. And I'm right here, I'm alive. I talk to you about myself. You locked me in a mental hospital over the period of 20 years, and you don't stop. And you think somebody said, M-O-S-E-R, Moser, my last name Moser, somebody said Grandma Rose died and they didn't have to go into a mental hospital. No, you don't have to go into jail and prison or a mental hospital permanently upstate because you think somebody died and you can't prove that you didn't do it. And it's just that God just gave somebody a death. And we all just have to accept that because it's really dangerous, but God will take care of it because he gives death. Yeah. I want to be God to God that way. How about you put them in a prison and they can tell everyone in a prison that they think somebody died? If God has to give a death and he has to put everyone who's going to announce in karma that somebody died, they all have to go into a prison so they can talk about it in there and they can fight about how they don't want to be in there anymore because somebody else died and they wish they died out of a prison. Don't be around in public, get into a car and drive at high-speed traffic, and you think somebody died and you're telling everyone, and then you get in a car and drive at high speeds away from somebody you told that somebody died and you didn't die. Well, that's not free. I didn't die is me. I don't want to hear it. If you didn't give the death yourself, you can't say somebody died with your own genitals that are going to die someday. What are you testifying? Testifying as if you killed somebody. And I am myself the one who can testify. I am the judge. What are you abominating myself that you can speak English at all? You're not supposed to speak English at all. And if you speak somebody died, you're abominating myself that I did or didn't say it. And I don't declare somebody died for any need of my own. I need somebody died would be in a jail and a prison and you wouldn't have a name anymore. How am I supposed to say who died? You don't have a name that way.